One of the first things I found out about Morton Bartlett was that he died alone, as he'd lived, and he died with a secret. When I drove to Boston to see the house where he lived and died and meet with a lawyer who was disposing of his estate, I was struck that the house seemed to me not like the house of an old, single, unmarried man, but like a large family house. And it was clear that Morton Bartlett had only ever lived on one floor of this house. There were several exquisitely created children. There was a cupboard in the house, and inside there were photographs and negatives. I was intrigued.
Our first meeting with Morton Bartlett was when a real estate agent brought him in to look at a flat above us for rent.
15 Fair Street was where Khalil and I were living then. At the time, it was a wonderful building in Bay Village. And the wonderful part about it in the 50s when we met Morton Bartlett was that it was inhabited completely by artists. And he listened to a soap opera. Every afternoon we'd hear the strains of One Man's Family.
One Man's Family, brought to you by Fleischmann's Yeast.
He was so devoted to it.
Right, and do you remember how we used to listen and sort of giggle because
we considered him old-fashioned.
One Man's Family is dedicated to the mothers and fathers of the younger generation and to their bewildering offspring. Tonight we present Chapter 8, Book 47, entitled Claudia Says Goodbye to Her Family.
When I remember more, we realize in retrospect there was a void in his life, and the fact that he didn't have an active family intimately close to him, and that he wasn't really close in the way Khalil and I and all of our friends had an intimate relationship. He did not have that. But what he did do in his spare time was make those dolls.
When Bartlett's work was found, there were the figures, of course, in addition to lots of extra arms and legs and heads, still wrapped in the 1963 Boston newspaper that he'd wrapped them in when he put them away.
I remember he went out and bought a sewing machine, and I was a little surprised at that because I didn't know that he was going to be able to sew anything, only on a technical level. But he made the clothes, and they were wonderful objects.
As a private dealer, it was important for me to have a public forum to exhibit the dolls. And the most appropriate was the Outsider Art Fair in New York City.
I was walking through the Outsider Fair a few years back, and I saw Marion's little area. You see something and then you keep thinking about it. You know, I'll see something and go, oh, well, that's interesting, and then I'll go home and I'll forget about it. But some things you don't forget about. Some things stay with you. And there's something in the Bartletts that mix innocence and danger, that mixes a kind of a loss and a yearning. And I like to create work, and I like to look at work that has a lot of different levels to it. And I think that the Bartletts have, you know, many levels going on in that way.
It's quite remarkable that since its discovery 7 years ago, the work's now in many important collections. And most recently, the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, where Morton Bartlett is one of the first outsider photographers to be included in their permanent collection. This particular one is owned by John Zorn. And this one in Lausanne in Switzerland at the Art Brut Museum there. And this one's in a private collection in New York. So it's really quite an affirmation that it's in so many established and significant collections. And interesting that it was a body of work that was never made to be sold.
What interested me particularly was that he created these dolls, dressed them, photographed them, but then put the dolls away and hid them, and only really concerned himself with the photographs, which to me was very important. A very important point. To look at a doll is dead, the eyes are dead. But to look at photographs, there's something else going on there. It's almost like, reminded me of my grandmother looking through her photo album, you know, as she got older, to have her old memories of this, that, and the other.
For artists, it's a wonderful lesson that someone close to you has to be there to respect the work and
Someone
to
who
claim
cares
it.
for you.
And certainly that was just a wonderful phenomenon, that she was able to recognize the worth of the material, and that it wasn't dissipated or wasn't dispersed or even thrown into a trash heap. And that's so important when you think of artists and their legacy.